Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado, and I hope you're doing well. I hear it all the time in the comments on social media and on YouTube. People say, you got to fix Colorado's elections if you want to fix our state. And I do understand there's a lot of problems with mail in ballots. There's a lot of questions about fraud and just voter turnout in general and how the system should work compared to how it does work. But of course, there's still unanswered questions regarding the 2020 election. Just recently here, we saw Donald Trump, our president, post on Truth Social, quote, "The 2020 election was a total fraud. The evidence is massive and overwhelming. A special prosecutor must be appointed. This cannot be allowed to happen again here in the United States of America. Let the work begin." Now, Rasmussen reports here says, quote, "Would you support or oppose the appointment of a special prosecutor to investigate the 2020 election?" It says two-thirds of Republicans and a plurality of all voters support appointment of a special prosecutor. Well, shout out to Ash in America for reposting that. Definitely an account you want to follow, and I'll have the links at Free State Colorado, of course. But I think there's a lot of questions regarding what happened in 2020. I mean, this question is not over yet. A lot of people have lost faith in our elections. So what's it going to take to get faith back in the elections and ensure that our votes are counted properly? Well, you may have seen this recent article here at denver7.com, but definitely wanted to highlight it and actually look at the actual letter from the Department of Justice. So, Department of Justice demands Colorado turn over all records related to the 2024 federal elections. Wow. So, I won't read all of this here, but we'll read some highlights. The U.S. Department of Justice is demanding that Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold turn over all records related to the 2024 federal elections, a request many election experts call unprecedented. Could be anything from voter registration information, voter turnout information. It could be information from the voting system access and activity logs from inside the voting machine system. It could be the actual ballots themselves. The DOJ has also asked the Secretary of State's office to retain records it still has from the 2020 election. According to Crane, Colorado law requires election records to be maintained for 25 months, which is 3 months longer than the 22 months required under federal law. Either way, he said most of the 2020 election records are probably gone, which is a shame. But of course, you'd want to compare election results and kind of how everything played out in 2020 versus 2024, so you can really see the differences there. I think that's kind of some of the thought behind it, if you ask me. They suspect it has something to do with Tina Peters, the former Mesa County clerk and 2020 election denier, who's currently serving a 9-year sentence for allowing a man to access voting equipment. Peters is not mentioned in the Justice Department's letter. So it'll be very interesting to see that what comes of this. Last month, in a post on Truth Social, Trump called Peters an innocent political prisoner and directed the DOJ to take action to secure her release. Of course, here's what our Secretary of State says. Donald Trump has weaponized his Department of Justice. Well, she should know a lot about that, as she's weaponized the Secretary of State's office, in my opinion, targeting his perceived enemies and meddling in state cases to try and free those who supported his big election lie. Gosh. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. Let's hope there's some accountability. If there's fraud, we need to know about it, right? I mean, this is the most important thing. If the elections are rigged, then folks, it's bad news all around, as we all know. Don't need to tell you the implications of that. But now that there's this opportunity for Trump to be in the White House and actually have the federal government look into what's going on here in Colorado, I think that could be huge. It's something that can't be overlooked, and we need to be continuing this conversation. So here's that NPR article. Trump's DOJ makes its most sweeping demand for election data yet. So just a couple highlights here for you. On May 12th, the Justice Department asked Colorado Secretary of State to turn over all records relating to the 2024 federal elections, as well as preserve any records that remain from the 2020 election. A sprawling request several voting experts and officials told NPR was highly unusual and concerning, given President Trump's false claims about elections. Oh gosh, just the bias is so obvious in this, isn't it, folks? I mean, not to talk about defunding NPR, but can't help but think that anytime I read one of their articles here. So interesting stuff. One thing they did say that was kind of nice here, they did call Tina Peters a folk hero, which is kind of a good term, I suppose. But of course, they go into a little bit of the detail. But really, what I want you to see is the letter itself. So here's the letter from the U.S. Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, dated May 12th, 2025, to Jena Griswold. Dear Secretary Griswold, we write to you as the chief election official for the Commonwealth of Colorado to request information regarding the state's procedures for compliance with the Voting Rights Act. titled Retention and Preservation of Records and Papers by Officers of Elections. This code requires the preservation of all records relating to any application, registration, or other act requisite to voting in an election for a period of 22 months from the date of any general, special, or primary election of which candidates for the office of President, Vice President, Presidential Elector, Member of the Senate, Member of the House of Representatives. We recently received a complaint alleging noncompliance by your office with the duties outlined in this code. Additionally, this code provides that any record required to be preserved by this section shall upon demand in writing by the Attorney General or her representative directed to the person having custody, possession, or control of such record or paper be made available for inspection, reproduction, and copying. As the state's chief election official, we direct our inquiry to you. To assist in our efforts in evaluating the complaint, we respectfully request that you provide us with the following information related to the above requirements. All records, as outlined in that section, and a certification that no record required for preservation has been deleted, destroyed, or altered from its original format. All statutes, regulations, written guidance, internal policies, or database user manuals that set out the procedures Colorado has put in place relating to implement the requirements of this code. If your office or any state agent still has custody of these records pertaining to the November 2000 federal election, please preserve those records. 2000. Please provide this information within 14 days of the date of the letter. So I think that is very interesting, folks. This is really one of the best opportunities we have right now to actually affect change, I think, is what the federal government can do to try and rein in our out of control Secretary of State, investigate what's going on with our elections. And I'd love to see where this goes. If you have any other information, please get it out to me. We'll try and keep updated on this and keep you informed. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time. Take care.